Hello everyone, welcome back to Angela's Craft Room. So glad you're here with me today. Now I thought I'd just share with you this tutorial that I've made using, I needed to make a mail card. So I chose the stamp set Wilderness Awaits, which I'll just, there you go. So that's Wilderness Awaits. So we've used the elk here. So I have struggled using this stamp set being in Australia. I suppose it's like a deer. That's how I look at it. We have deers in Australia. So I have seen them called elks though. And I'm also using the sentiment here, admired, respected, loved, and that's you. And then I haven't used this next stamp set in this on this particular card, but I thought that I would try it, and it's my favorite stamp set, Lovely as a Tree, and I'm just going to be using this big tree here to try and add a bit more dimension to the card. So I'll show you some hints as well along the way, but let's get started. So to start with, you will need a piece of cardstock which measures 11 inches by 4 1/4 and scored at 5 1/2. And then we're just going to burnish that, and then we can set that aside. That's all ready to go. Then what I've done for my first layer, which I always just make my layers just a little bit smaller, so I've only come down like by 1/8 of an inch, so that is just going to perfectly fit. You're only just going to be able to see the black because we're going to bring some more black layers onto here. So what I've done, and as you can see, I've embossed that with the wood grain embossing folder, and I do have a bit of a tip with that one because it is so deeply etched in the when you emboss it. I have found that sometimes it tears on me. So what I do is grab my folder, which is in here, open it up, and then I just put a piece of paper toweling in there, and then I pop my piece of Whisper White cardstock and then put it through my Big Shot like that, and then I found by doing that it doesn't tear. So it's just a little tip, it works for me. And you can see that that's even embossed my paper toweling. So yeah, it's just a bit of a trick. And when because this is so deeply edged, I only use the multi-purpose liquid glue to adhere it to the front cover of my card. So we'll do that. And another trick it's not a trick, it's a tip more than anything. With the multi-purpose liquid glue, I find that it's best if you store it standing up like that, for me anyway, because I don't use this, the thick end. I only ever use this fine tip end, and for me, if I have it stored in that position, it's always going to be there for me, and I seem to have more control of how much comes out. So just on the back, so you can see what I mean. I've just got, and I can feel going over the edges, the impressioned edges like that, and I'm just going to go down all sides first. And the good thing with the multi-purpose liquid glue, it does give you that little bit of time to move it if you need to. Okay, so then I'm going to stand up because I just want to get this put. So I line it up on a grid. You can get these pads of Stampin' Up grid paper, and I just find them really good. I line up my card on a grid line. Hopefully it will stay there. And just put the top piece down at the top first, and just see that. Just try and look at the top and the bottom and the sides all at once. I know it's a bit difficult, so I'm quite happy with that. So I just pat that down. I'm not going to play with moving that around too much. Okay, so there we go. So that's that piece. Now I just want to explain about the layering ovals that I'll be using. Now, out of the layering ovals, which mine are in a bit of a mess at the moment, not looking really good, but there's so many of them that you just get so much of a choice. But the ones I've used the straight, what I call the straight edge, and then you also get the scalloped ones. So I'm just using the straight edge circles in this, and I've taken the biggest one and I've cut out a scallop, not a scalloped, oval, which I'm going to glue to my card to be about there in the center. So I'll just get my multi-purpose glue and do that straight away. And you don't really need that much. To have it round the edges is the most important, I find, because you don't want your edges lifting. So we're going to be doing a bit of sponging, so as well. So just eyeballing that where I want it in the center before I really put it down. It's a little bit off, so but I can live with that. So I'm just going to glue that down. So then we have that. Then what I did was, that's using the biggest circle. Then what I did was seeing which circle I used. Okay, so we use the biggest one, and then you've got the next size down and the next size down. Just checking which one I used. Yeah, that one. So then I use the next size down just to cut out another scallop, which I'm going to glue on top of the one I've already done, because I'm going to be using some dimensionals. And then what I did was put these two inside each other, and then using some black cardstock ran that through my Big Shot. And not only do you get that piece, which we'll put away to use somewhere else, I actually was able to create my frame, which will go round that circle just to finish it off. Okay, so this gives you a little bit of a hint to which circles I used and why I used them. So next I'm going to put the next size circle on there. Now you could put dimensionals on there, but I'm going to put dimensionals on my white piece. So I'm just going to glue that down just as another layer. Even though you're not going to be able to see that, because I'm putting dimensionals on my white piece, this will just help show the black in the card, because it is purely a black, white and grey card that we're making. Just to show you that you don't have to use vibrant colours all the time, and this might help you knowing how to make your mail cards. So then it's just given me that little bit of lift. I don't know if you most probably can't see it because it's black, but yeah, it does give a little bit of lift. So now we're going to bring in some sponging, and I'm just going to pop on a glove because I'm going to make a bit of a mess. Now I'm going to be using basic black and also the basic grey with the sponging. So we're going to just be working on us piece of Whisper White. I'm just popping on my other glove so I can get into the sponging. Okay, now I have used this, I haven't washed it off, it has got a bit of black on it, but I think I'll get away with it. Now you're going to see that I'm going to, okay, one other thing, we need to make a mask for the moon, which was up here on this card. So how we do that, I take off a couple of sticky notes. I'm sure you've seen 100 people do this. Just find my sticky part is up there. Then I take my 1 3/8 inch Silka punch, and where the sticky is on the note, I'm just going to punch out. I like to do a few sticky notes, like a few layers. I find now it cuts out and sticks a lot easier. Now I'm not putting it so it's got space around the whole moon. I'm doing it so it's just a bit off of the moon, so it's a bit off of the oval there. So you can see I've just got mine a little bit off. Straighten up. Okay, so we're going to start with basic grey, and I'm just going to tap it off on there. So starting off on your grid paper and just coming on, and I'm just going to be, because this stamp, my ink pad's quite juicy, and I'm doing it very lightly handed, like I'm not adding very much pressure at all, and you can see that it's bringing that grey on. And another thing is, I do like to sponge when I'm sponging on white. I do like to sponge using the shimmery white. I don't know why, but it just seems to give that smoother look when you're finished. So I'm just going on the sticky note a bit so I go round the moon, and then when I've hardly got any ink left on, I just move down a little bit, because we're going to highlight it and I'm going to be taking a bit of a gamble by changing the card a little bit to my original one that I've done. I just want to, I'm going to try putting some trees into this one. So you don't have to, you could just stamp the elk into the moon after you finish sponging. Trick is just knowing when to stop sponging. So that's sponged quite quickly. That's probably because my ink pad's very juicy. Now I'm just going to take the basic black, stamp it off a little bit, and I'm just going to try and highlight round the moon a little bit. So just highlight it round a little bit, and then just move off from the circle so that you've hardly got any ink on at this stage, and you're just bringing the black down a little bit. Now I would like to, actually before I do that, what I will do is I'll take the tree from Lovely as a Tree stamp set, this one. Now I'm going to be doing a lot of stamping off because we want the elk to be the main focus. Okay, so I'm going to go back to using my grey. Just need that to stick on. It's not, I want to make sure my tree is straight. Just press it down a little bit on the grid paper to make sure that it's adhered to there. Then I'm just going to take my grey and I just want to make sure it's got a good covering, but I am going to be stamping it off. Now that's come off, that's no good. Okay, so we'll just stamp it up again. And where to watch that you do have ink is right in the middle of the stamp there. Because it's such a detailed stamp, it sometimes does miss that center piece. So I'm going to stamp it off. And I'm going to stamp it off a second time, and then I'm just going to put it on the center, on the edge there. Then stamp it up again. Now on this other side where the elk isn't going to be, I'm just going to stamp it off once. Stamp it there. And then one in the middle. Which I'll bring it down a little bit. So it's just, it is a little bit stronger. So I'm quite liking that effect. There we go. So now I'm just going, before I'm not sure if I want to stamp any more, but what I'm going to do is grab my sponge, go back to my black, and I'm just going to sponge just on the edge. Actually, I'll remove the moon, so you've got your nice crisp moon, and I'm just going to sponge a little bit just around the edge there. And it doesn't matter if you go on the tree a little bit. Don't be scared to experiment. And this won't come out exactly as my other card. No two cards ever turn out the same. So I'm just going to bring that, just want a bit more definition up there near the moon, a bit more black. And we're going to be stamping the elk in black, but he will get stamped. Just put a little bit of now you can use the you can leave the moon pure white like I did in the other card, but I'm just experimenting a little bit by adding a little bit of colour into that, seeing I'm adding the trees this time. Now with what I think that I'll do then is stamp up my lovely as a tree once again, and I'm not going to stamp it off. I'm going to take it up into the moon a little bit, just on the edge here. Adds good pressure on all of the stamp, and so it will come out like that, which is quite effective. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp up my elk. Just couldn't find the acrylic block I needed. I'm just using the larger one so that he's on straight. Now because I want his front foot there to be sitting on that log or whatever he's on, I'm going to grab my Project Life marker and just put a mark, put a mark there, so that when I'm stamping on that side I can see that that needs to be at the bottom. That needs to be at the bottom of my card. So using the basic black, I'm just going to ink up the elk. Now he needs to be really vibrant, and we're not stamping off. This is going to be, you know, it is a very detailed stamp, so you might need to just wriggle. Your stamp pad needs to be very well inked for this technique that we're doing today. made a mess getting ink anywhere. So then I'm going to bring in, and I've made a bit of a mess there with all the black sponging, but that's the way it goes. Now I'm just going to have that there. It's pretty straight. Now that's where his front foot is, where I've put that mark. So I want that to be about there. I want that to be the lower part and across a little bit, down, and I'm pressing quite hard. Normally I would stand up and do this. And then we have him you can see that. Okay, so we've got him like that. So then what I think that I'll do, I will just grab my Wink of Stella pen. This is purely optional, but you could just add, oh, did I pick, oh, that was close. Pick the gold one instead of the clear one. I want the clear one, and just add a little bit of Wink of Stella on the moon. The Lovely as a Tree stamp set is fabulous for your Christmas cards too, but it's a really good stamp that you can use with other stamps or on its own all year round. It's one of my really favourite stamp sets. So you most probably can't see that on the video, but it just gives it a little bit more dimension. And I was thinking of putting a tree up there, but I think I'll leave it alone. So that's the stamping done. So now we just need to pop that on our card with some dimensionals, and I've got a few of these left. Waste not, want not, I say. So I'm just going to turn him over and cut off a strip of these dimensionals. Stamping has brought out the lovely adhesive foam strips now, but I still like to use these up as well. So this is just going to add a little bit more dimension to your card. That one I've put over a bit too far. I don't want it showing. It's a bit hard with the gloves on. Take them off in a minute. But I find using the gloves when I'm sponging does help an awful lot, because it saves the heartache of transferring ink to your card. So let's take the gloves off there. Now we've done the sponging, and I just like to grab my tweezers, just give it a bit of a push down, and then should just come off quite easy. Now I've got my fingers stuck to it all. Just one more. So I think that's about the quickest I've sponged for you in a tutorial. Usually we're sponging for ages. Then we're going to bring in our card, and I'm just going to pop him right in the middle. So the second piece of basic black oval we put down you won't see, but it just gives it a bit more lift. And I wouldn't try using the dimensional straight on to the textured piece that we did, because you know it's just such very deep edged texturing, and it just won't adhere as well as that has. Now, previous to coming on to you lovely people out there, I have stamped the sentiment just on some Whisper White scrap, and then I've just glued it to a piece of black like so, and I'm just going to be popping that one down there. I do apologise, I used up all the dimensionals, so we're just going to put three should be sufficient. Just pushing them in the centre there. Just another little tip, and just they come off quite easy then. And then we're just going to pop the sentiment on. I mean, it's up to you if you want to add a little rhinestone on the sentiment piece, or even a couple like I did my previous card on there. But I think I'll just leave him as he is. So we'll just get these ink pads out the way. And I just want to show you the two different images finished. We'll get rid of that so that you can tell the difference. So the first one I showed you, and I didn't show you the inside of the card, I just put a piece of Whisper White in there, and I just stamped the elk before putting the Whisper White in there, and I did stamp him off and then stamp it, so it's not full strength for the inside, because you don't want to take what you've done on the outside. You don't want the inside to look as good as the inside. So that's that one where I've left the moon clear, and then I'll just bring in this one, and then you can see which one you like the best. So this one I've added some trees with stamping off and that, and this one I've coloured in the moon a little bit, and this one I've left the moon clear. So I've done a little bit more sponging in black on this one as well. With the moon being clear, it's shown up a lot better. So I hope that helps you. I know a lot of my customers do struggle with making mail cards, but I hope you'll give that one a try. It is a really great stamp set. The Wilderness awaits, and we've used the elk today. So hopefully in the future I'll come back and choose one of the other images in there. So I hope I've inspired you to give these techniques a try, and I look forward to seeing you next time.